Hey guys, so doing patch 8.3 rundown. I actually recorded this yesterday, on the 6th, right when it got released, but for some reason the video did not make it to YouTube, and then I deleted it because I value my computer hard drive space, but I didn't realize the upload didn't go through, so now I'm re-recording it, but it's okay, this patch isn't really big. So we'll go straight into it. I'm not going to talk about Swain because with every like rework kind of thing, I feel like you kind of just need to see the champion play out for a bit. Um, and so I'm not even going to bother like really talking about it. I think he looks cool. I think he can be good, but I want to see how he plays out myself first before I comment on him too much. So Azir, I think this is probably like the biggest nerf on the whole patch. And I don't think it's that close. W getting minion aggro is ridiculous. The fact that every champion started getting minion aggro on like their main like trading abilities for the most part, or a lot of champions started getting minion aggro on their trading abilities, whereas Azir got to poke you through your minions while farming and hitting you at the same time on a low cooldown, and you couldn't really dodge it because just if you did, he just repositioned it to hit you anyway. The fact that he can do all of that less now is insane. Um, I think this will actually push him down the totem pole of priority pretty hard because Azir's one item isn't really fantastic. His two item is really strong, and the reason he was a lot of reason why he was good was that he got you such a huge advantage in mid lane pressure and put the other laner in such a bad position with how annoying his laning phase was that like he could get to two item without getting punished pretty heavily most times. Like you basically had to gank him, and if the Azir was good and didn't like die to your ganks, the champion just became a huge fucking issue. But now that his laning phase is tuned down, and he still has those weaknesses where he doesn't really spike that hard until two item. I think you'll start to see a lot less of this champion, and for good riddance, really. This champion is just whenever he's playable, it's just so frustrating for everyone because he's so good against melee champions with his ulti. He's got repositions, and his lane phase is ridiculous, and it's just super frustrating playing against this champion. Jarvan base armor down. I actually think Jarvan isn't that great um, as people think he is. They just have nightmares of, like, especially people who play at mobile champions of playing against Jarvan and just getting camped and they never want to see him again. Jarvan's clear is pretty bad. Among the meta junglers, I wouldn't hesitate to say he's the worst clear, but I do agree, like, yeah, he still was on the strong side, and hitting his damage again would just completely murder AD Jarvan more than it already has been murdered. Like, I can't remember the last time I've seen any Jarvan build full AD anymore after those nerfs. So, I guess it's a hit that had to happen. I'm just not super enthusiastic about it because at the end of the day, I don't think it changes much. It just makes Jarvan feel worse, and I already feel like jungle is not in a very good spot, but that's a discussion for another video. Base damage up on curtain call. This champion just sucks. There's really not much else to say about it. This isn't really going to change anything. Yeah, it's nice, 20 damage, rank 3 on 3 shots, but this champion just has so many issues right now. He can't do enough damage to kill tanks, and he like laning dominance just like isn't worth enough right now. So the champion really suffers, and the thing he wants, like he wants Fleet. I feel like Fleet and Comet are like his two best keystones, but I think Fleet is better because it makes his lane safer. But then he gets attack speed, and he doesn't really want that as much as he would prefer flat stats, even though I know it's converted. So Jin just I don't think he'll be good. This is a really weird nerf to me. There's a lot of really weird nerfs and buffs in this patch. I haven't seen a lot of Katarina, and I don't necessarily think she's like super like broken. Granted, yes, I do think she's super annoying. I hate playing against this champion. I'm sure most people hate playing against this champion because it's like everything that's wrong with solo queue. Like you ping missing 40 times, but your team overextends anyway. Katarina gets a double kill bot lane, and suddenly you walk into lane and she one-shots you. So, like, I don't think Katarina is necessarily healthy design, but I'm not convinced she needed a nerf. From a purely selfish perspective of I hate playing as this champion, I'm glad to see this happen, but I'm kind of curious that this did happen. But yeah, that's about it. Kog'Maw, completely justified. There's been too many games this past patch where I play a full tank. I build full tank on a champion. I build the items you're supposed to build against Kog'Maw, Ninja Tabi Adaptive Helm with Ninja Tabi Adaptive Helm with the Randuins and maybe a Stone Plate, and this champion like destroys me in like 2 seconds. So this is actually a huge nerf. 2% of the target's maximum health at rank 5, which is like, and per auto. This is per auto. 2% less damage per maximum health per auto on an ability that you max first. So you're feeling it the majority of the game, and it starts to do less at rank 2. So starting at level 4, you're starting to feel, well, I guess technically level 3, but starting really early in the game, you're feeling the damage reduction. Kog'Maw, I think this is completely justified. Like, this champion, there's really no defending it. This champion and Varus have just been abusing the hell out of Rageblade. They're by far the best AD carries at the moment. I'm pretty surprised Varus didn't get hit in this patch too. And I thought they would actually just hit Rageblade, because the biggest problem with Kog'Maw is you're like, alright, like the notion in your head is like, Kog'Maw is a weak laner. We have to punish Kog'Maw in the early game before he gets his items. But the problem is Kog'Maw's laning is actually pretty fucking insane, because pretty much every relevant lane bully sucks now, like Jhin, Lucian that they're buffing in this patch. Caitlyn's okay, but the problem with Caitlyn Kog is that Caitlyn's biggest advantage is range, but Kog'Maw can just press W and just trade back, and then if you don't hit net Q combo, like if the Kog'Maw is behind minions, then you actually have a hard time trading with the Kog'Maw properly as Caitlyn. If the Kog'Maw is like good on only trading with W, he doesn't take too much poke, and like Caitlyn can't even bully him properly, especially with like fleet footwork being a thing and heal supports. I know like Targon's is gone, but still, Kog'Maw with like a Lulu or like any shield support in lane is just ridiculous. I'm glad he's getting hit here. Lucian, so damage up on second shot crit damage up. So buffing the Essence Reaver build, and a slight smaller buff to the builds that don't build crit. This isn't really gonna change anything. The problem with Lucian, he has so many, is that one, Lucian likes attack speed, but he doesn't like the amount of attack speed. Like, the attack speed from going press the attack is it's like kind of overkill. He would like a split of like AD and attack speed, and on top of that, press the attack after the nerf just feels really, really bad. And the other thing is, like, if you go like fleet, then you don't bully lane hard enough. If you go, whatchamacallit, electrocute, you don't have enough attack speed, and if you do go electrocute, you basically are forced to go alacrity, which means you have to go precision second, which means you don't get a stopwatch, which does get addressed in this patch, but not having a stopwatch in a meta where like everyone's TPing bottom is just, it doesn't work. So, and on top of that, his builds, right? If you go the Bork build, then you want to be relevant early on. You want to be a lane bully, right? Without having to save up 1300 for a BF on your first base. You want to bully like ASAP. Then you go in like 2 waves, like try to push quickly with Q, because it's got a 90 fucking mana cost. So instead you want to go Essence Reaver to have less of a mana issue. But the problem with Essence Reaver means you give up a lot of bully potential most of the time, because you're waiting for a BF sword to back. And on top of this, Essence Reaver doesn't really spike on Essence Reaver. Essence Reaver spikes at 2/3 item, which means you're going to be aiming for a team fight stage with Lucian. But at least on the last patch, team fighting against like you're banking on team fighting against like Rageblade Kog'Maw, Rageblade Varus, like Xayah, like Lucian just doesn't do more than those champions. So it's like a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing, where it's like you either play for the early game, and it's really hard because there's so much sustain in bot lane, there's so much safety in bot lane, there's so many TPs in bot lane, or you play to scale and you just don't scale as well as the other AD carries because your range is shit and you don't provide utility for other people. Your self-peel utility and the items that you need if you're playing the scaling build, like, the thing is, like, if you go Essence Reaver, attack speed, crit item, and then Infinity Edge, but the meta right now is, like, tank jungle, sometimes tank top, usually tankier support, you need Last Whisper, and then you're saying, like, alright, I'm playing a lane bully that isn't relevant until 4 items, and it's just like, what the fuck? Why don't I just play Kog'Maw and be relevant at 1 item? So, yeah, I think this champion's still in the dumpster. Master Yi, this is so random. Cost down on Q. That is an insane cost on Q. That is super old. 110 mana on a basic ability. That's some support level shit. So that going down is fine. Base damage up on Wuju style. Ratio up. I'm going to be completely honest here. I haven't seen Master Yi in forever, and I still don't think I'm going to see Master Yi, even with this buff. When I see him, he's going to be a bit more annoying now. I'm sure everyone in low elo is dreading this and cursing out Riot right now, but I'll be honest, from my perspective, this doesn't change anything. Maybe I'll play Master Yi on stream. Rise. Activating. Completely necessary. Rise is a dumb champion. Him being able to do this was ridiculous. You're like, alright, a mobile... Okay, well, like, no blink mid laner who's got insane wave control, very good at trading. Let's gank him, right? And then he just presses R and stopwatch. He's like, see you guys. And then you're like, well, at least if he wants to do that again, he has to build Zhonya's first, right? But then he builds Zhonya's first and he still kills your whole team. And you're just like, well, I guess we can't do anything about this guy. And then you would even see it in pro play. Like, Rise is split pushing. It's like, well, do we leave one person on an island to try to deal with him and lose eventually? Or do we send 2 people and blow his ultimate Zhonya's on a 90-second cooldown? And it's like, well, I guess we lose. So I'm glad they're getting rid of this. So, like, he actually is, like, gankable now past stopwatch timer. So we'll see what this does. This is a pretty significant hit, even though there's nothing in the numbers. I feel like, yeah, he does a shit ton of damage, but, like, as long as he can actually put him down and gank him now, I think it's a bit more balanced. So, Sejuani. Q cooldown up, that is massive because you max this ability usually last. I know some people do Q second instead, but that feels, when I tried it, it felt pretty bad because it's not like Gragasy where it just goes down to like 0. Like, it's such a low cooldown with CDR. It didn't go down much with CDR. It didn't go down much with level, you see. It was mainly off CDR. So I always felt like maxing Q second was kind of pointless, but now maybe you have a case because this is a long cooldown. Once again, I think jungle's just in a bad spot, and I think nerfing the junglers who are played right now isn't going to fix much because the reason they're played is because jungle is just in a bad spot rather than like those champions are like obscenely broken. Because if you compare this champion to like mid last season where this champion was like completely broken, same with like Gragas and stuff, they're so neutered from that state, but they're just still being played because everything else is just worse. And that's just a fundamental issue with jungle right now. Dremes. Attack damage growth up, ratio up, same thing. I don't see this champion. I'm sure now when I see this champion, I'll be more annoyed, but I don't see this champion, and I don't think I will continue to see this champion. And I think I'll continue to not see this champion. Victor. They're throwing him a bone. Victor actually got a bit better with this patch, with the rune changes, which I'll just talk about in a little bit. They're throwing him a bone. You know, his R, it was pretty much always up at level 16 team fights anyway. His shield is actually relevant now when you augment upgrade. Nice. You know, maybe you can play around with Qmax. Or, I mean, not Qmax. That's ridiculous. Q augment first. and have a slightly better laning phase. But if you do augment Q first, that means you're giving up your wave clear, and that's never good. Because I'm pretty sure you don't kill melee minions in 2Es if you don't have your augment. So you pretty much still have to augment E first. It's just that when you augment Q, it actually helps you a little bit. So it's like his early laning is still garbage, and they buffed his scaling a little bit, which is still nice because his scaling was also kind of garbage on this patch. He's just really, really bad in general, but I don't think this moves the needle. And this, see, the problem with the Zoe Q isn't that, okay, well, part of the problem is that it's spammable, but the bigger problem is that it's more on the Zoe player to miss than you to dodge because it moves too fast. And then the problem is if it hits you once, then you just die. Or you're going back to base. Like, you're essentially, like, out of a fight. Past, like, extremely early game. Which is the problem with this champion. Yes, it's nice that it's up early, but this is her first max ability. And if she did have a weakness, it was that her early wave clear isn't the best, like, on before first buy. And while this exacerbates it a little bit, with the nerf to like the lane bullies, like Azir, I guess Rise's damages are the same. Like the other champions are getting nerfed too, and other champions aren't getting buffed, so she's still going to be like essentially the same champion. Like yes, like any nerf helps, but this isn't one that's like so relevant that it'll really change enough, in my opinion, to really push her out. The champion is still a huge problem. Cho'Gath looks cooler. So I like this. Down from 25 to 15. Still probably going to be taken like almost all the time because it's still really, really good. At 25, I feel like at 25 it was taken because it actually is better than the other keystones. At 15 and potentially 10 if they hit it again, I think you can start to make more of an argument that it's taken because the other keystones are just trash rather than it's just better than the other keystones. So if they end up buffing like other keystones in the next few patches to pile on top of this buff, on top of this nerf, then I don't think they need to change it again. But if they don't, then I think they're probably going to need to hit this down to 10. Because the cooldown you can get on your like flash with the 5% keystone or the 5% rune as well as Ionian boots plus unsealed is just like ridiculous. So I like this. This needed to happen. I wish the stopwatch timing got changed to like 8 minutes because 6 minutes is just way too low. But that's also an issue for another video. And the only thing I don't like about this is Hextech Flash. It feels like Hextech Flash is now just stuck in this tree where it's never going to be taken because it's competing with two runes that are just too fucking good. I kind of wish they just added like another rune for this tree that's also like really good to compete with these. That could actually like viably compete with these two so they wouldn't have to nerf it and then move Hextech Flash to a place where it actually have a chance to be taken, because I think Hextech Flash is really cool, but it's just like impossible to justify taking Hextech Flash up against these two juggernaut of runes. Glad they're downing the sell value and the contribution because this rune needs any nerf it can get, but I would have much rather seen them hit the activation timer on this to 8 to 10 minutes so junglers had a chance at level 6 to make a play on it, to make a play on laners before this came into effect. I really I like that it's nerfed. I just wish it was a better nerf. Like this nerf just doesn't do enough in my opinion, and I'm just sad that they're putting these with Hextech Flash because no one is going to take Hextech Flash now. Already very few people were, but now no one is going to take it. And this, I like this because these are all like laning runes, and like now people can pick like, do I want faster push, do I want lane longevity with biscuits, or do I want to be able to buy my items faster and get out of lane and buy my items faster. I think futures market is so cool. It was just like impossible to justify taking in a tree that had boots for free. So like it's like Futures Market is like what Hextech Flash is now, where like I think it's a good rune. It's just stuck in a tree where everything else is just better, so you never get to see it, and you feel so bad whenever you try to take it. Like I hope that they can figure out something to like save my bro Hextech Flash, because like Futures Market, I loved this rune. I love taking it. It's just I couldn't justify taking it over the other things. So that's the big issue there. And that is the end of this patch. So I like some of what they've done with the keystones. Like this nerf is good. I like this change. Like this change is good. It's just like I just feel bad for Hextech Flash. Not the problem. Still bad. Still irrelevant. Is a problem, but bigger problem is not like, which is Jungle Sucks, is not really fixed here. Hit the problem, good. Might still be an issue, but it's a step forward. I think hitting this first, because it's a lot of invisible power, so to speak, is a good first step. And then if he's still a problem, then you hit him again. Irrelevant, still probably irrelevant. Huge nerf, very justified. Like this, really random, still irrelevant. Once again, same thing as Sejuani, not the issue in my opinion. And gutted. Might still experimented for the next few weeks, but pretty huge nerf. This is a pretty, like both of these are huge. Justifiably gutted. So the thing about this patch is like, maybe I'm spoiled with how big the patches in preseason and preceding this were, but like I don't disagree with like the big nerf hits of this patch, but it's just like I wish they buffed up other champions, because it just feels like everyone, maybe with the exception of Azir, is still going to be picked. They're just going to feel a little worse to play. And I'd much rather they inject like some other champions like in with some buffs, rather than just like shaving off the top and then leaving it. So that's just how I feel about this patch. I don't think at the end of the day it changes much, except for deleting like Azir and Kog'Maw not being instantly win at one item, which I think is extremely needed. But at the end of the day, I don't think this changes too much overall.